What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. It is opening night of the 2023-2024 NBA season. James, my friend, you and I have waited a long time, it feels like, to get the NBA season going. We were here every day doing the MLB DFS show, and we kept on telling you all that NBA is coming, NBA is our sport, and NBA is finally here. I'm excited to tip it off. 2 games here on the opening night main slate.
Let's go! We're back, John. We are back. As I slam my desk, and hopefully my dogs don't stop barking, because that would be super unfortunate. But it's good to be back. 2-gamer to open up. Typical tip-off slate where you get the TNT games, you get the TNT crew nice and early, right? Yep. So yeah, I'm excited it's back. It's a fun opening night slate. A lot of high-powered, high-octane teams, potentially, all out west. So potentially one of the representatives in the NBA Finals with Lakers, Nuggets, Suns.
It's a little odd
Warriors.
they gave us 2 West Coast games to kick off, right? Because we have one of those games starting at 7:30 Eastern, which is like a 5 o'clock Mountain Time game for Denver. Why couldn't they have given us, I don't know, Sixers Celtics or something like that?
Celtics Bucks to kick it off.
Bucks, Miami versus Milwaukee with the Dame Lillard story would have been nice. Anything like that. But instead, they gave us 2 West Coast Western Conference games to kick off the slate. But that doesn't matter. We have basketball back, which is what we really care about here. And I might as well just plug it. Right, we have the Fantasy Alarm All-Pro package available to those of you who are not yet members of the Fantasy Alarm family. That means you get access to all of our NBA DFS premium content all season long, along with all of our premium content on site. Our NFL DFS package, playbook and content absolutely smashed in week 7. Our NHL DFS content is out there killing it as well. There's only been 1 NHL slate that I haven't cashed out so far. Ooh. And it was a 2-game slate where I just picked the wrong goalie. Really my fault, not necessarily their fault. MMA DFS, they've been crushing it. So Go ahead, sign up today if you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family. If you go to fantasyalarm.com/lock, promo code LOCK, we'll get you our annual subscription package for less than $16 a month. This is a limited time offer. It's going away soon, so you want to take advantage of this now. You can scan the QR code on the screen. You can click the link in the description of the show as well, or go to fantasyalarm.com/lock, enter promo code LOCK in the annual subscription package, and get the annual package for a full year for less than $16 a month. It literally paid for itself just past Sunday with our NFL DFS content like 10 times over. So get involved with it all today. Sign up, become a member of the Fantasy Alarm family as we kick off the 2023-2024 NBA season. James, let's start off the show with some NBA DFS props here. Our friends over at rtsports.com have a great promo going out right now. rtsports.com/alarm, promo code alarm23. New users who sign up get a 100% deposit match up to $200, and they can take part in their DFS daily pick'em contest. They have over-unders, higher lowers on player projection props over there. We'll pull it up right now. We'll take a look at some of our favorite plays of the day, and I'll just start it off. We're looking at this matchup here between the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets here with this matchup, and we also have the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors. I went to the Golden State Warriors Phoenix Sun matchup. There was 2 props there that I liked. The first one that I liked was Bradley Beal more than 4.5 assists. He's going to be playing point guard for them. We saw Point Beal in Washington be a guy that actually dished the ball out pretty well, and you have to assume a guy that is going to be passing the ball to Kevin Durant and Devin Booker is going to have the opportunity to rack up some assists here. So my favorite prop here on RT Sports for opening night, Bradley Beal more than 4.5 assists.
Yeah, I like it. And I do think, the thought behind this Suns team and the way it's going to work is Bradley Beal is the third option, despite I believe he's the highest paid of the 3. He is going to be the third highest scorer. And that's not to say he won't average 20 or, but I do think he is going to be more of the facilitator. You're not taking the ball. Devin Booker's not taking any less shots, and neither is Kevin Durant, 2 of the better scorers of this era. So I do like that. I think Bradley Beal is going to be a really good point guard for Phoenix, and we're gonna find out how good he can actually play point guard, or if they need to like go out and figure something out at the deadline or whatever. Because they pulled the Beal deal out of a hat. I mean, they didn't really give up all that much in that deal, so I like that quite a bit. I'll stick with the Suns, John. I'm going to go Kevin Durant more than 25.5 points. This game is the better of the two in terms of scoring. When you look at Las Vegas, we'll get into, it's 5 points more projected or implied, 232.5 on multiple sports books. And you look at Golden State, they're without their best defender, Draymond Green. I know he was activated or approved for 5-on-5, and he hasn't officially been ruled out for opening night. But even if he does play, let's say there's a world where he does, it's going to be limited. So they're not going to be able to get in front of Kevin Durant here with the likes of, Wiggins is a good defender. He's a lengthy defender, but Kevin Durant will have no problem shooting over him. And then when Wiggins is off the floor, Klay Thompson and Jonathan Kuminga, they're not going to be able to stick with Durant. So I'm going to go over 25.5 points. We saw in the last preseason game, Durant went like 8 for 13 in 19 minutes for like 23 points. He's like, midseason form, don't need to come back out for the second half. Kevin Durant is going to kick off the 2023-2024 season with a bang.
All right, give us one more play here, James. Not on Phoenix, so we can make this a qualifying pick. What do we got?
I like Jamal Murray over 21.5 points. You look back to Jamal Murray the last 4 times he played the Lakers, John, and it actually, you could say 6. He went over this the last 6 times, 2 in the regular season, and then the ever so important postseason. Jamal Murray, 31, 37, 37, 25 points against the Lakers. All they did defensively was add Gabe Vincent. I'm not saying he's a bad defender, because Gabe Vincent is a fine player. But the Lakers are starting Jamal Murray or D'Angelo Russell at point guard. Like, he is a sub defender. He is not a good defender. They're going to bring in a smaller Vincent. We saw Jamal Murray really take it to the Lakers every time they faced each other when he wasn't limited, because earlier in the year, obviously, we know Jamal Murray was limited. The first couple times he played only 27, 31 minutes. We should get Jamal Murray full complement of minutes. He was playing in the preseason. He played into the second half in the Denver's tune-up, their dress rehearsal game with Jokic. So this is a full go for Murray, and I think he's going to score early and often here. So over 21.5 points.
I like it. So those are our 3 plays here for NBA opening night over on RT Sports. Again, opportunity here to 6x your money over on RT Sports. Remember, go to rtsports.com/alarm. Promo code ALARM23. New users get that 100% deposit match up to $200. You can scan the QR code on the screen to take advantage of today's offer. James, switching gears here, going on over to the DraftKings main slate. Taking a look again, it is 2 games here on the opening night that we're looking at. So not necessarily a ton of players on this one to kind of go over and break down. We have some fun matchups, obviously Lakers, Denver, Phoenix, Golden State. When we're looking at spreads and totals for these 2 games here, anything notable standing out to you?
Yeah, I mean, both games, 227.5, 232.5. So high expected point totals. The Lakers led the NBA in the preseason in pace, so expect a fast-paced environment. We know Denver is the opposite of that. They play very slow, so a lot to like on the Denver side of things. And then Phoenix, Golden State. There's not going to be a lot of defense played in that game. It's 2 teams with high-octane offenses, and they couldn't defend in the preseason, and I don't expect, a Yusuf Nurkic anchored defense to be like a top defensive unit. And it
probably won't be any better than it was with DeAndre Ayton there, because that guy.
No, that's fair. And bring in Bradley Beal, another guy that's definitely offensive minded first. And on Golden State side, we already mentioned it, like Draymond out or limited. I mean, that just kills the Golden State defense. Plus, they're gonna be small. Let's not forget, Klay Thompson's been their starting shooting guard for years and years, and now you're bringing in Chris Paul, Steph Curry as your starting backcourt, or whether they're starting or not, that's 30. They're each playing 30 minutes a night, so they're going to be on the smaller side. I think this is going to be a high-scoring slate here on opening night.
Okay. Let's break it down by game here with just the two games, maybe a little bit easier to kind of break down and take a look at. Lakers Denver starting off here. Point guard position. We mentioned liking Jamal Murray when it comes to his point prop. He is $7,500 here. D'Angelo Russell on the opposite side of that matchup at $6K. Gabe Vincent, newly signed with the Lakers this offseason after a lot of success over in Miami as their backup point guard, now comes over to be the backup point guard for LA. We don't really see last year Reggie Jackson see too much time on the floor. Do you think that changes at all this year for Denver?
Yeah, I think Reggie Jackson's in line to be the primary backup. So, like, what that means, 17 minutes probably on a max, maybe early on. We see that, like, 16, 17 minutes while Murray's and everyone's working their minutes up. But we saw Jamal Murray get deep into the 20s in the final preseason game, like their tune-up. I think right off the bat, like 32, 33 minutes is like a fair projection for Murray. So, yeah, Jackson's going to play, and we know that he can score. But to like the extent of what I want to, like, would I play him if I'm playing, if I'm in the opening tip, which is the top tournament over on DraftKings, 200K up top. Yeah, I'm playing like a bunch of lineups. I'd have some Reggie Jackson exposure, but Curry, Murray, Booker, Beal, Russell. I think Chris Paul is probably my favorite point guard of the slate.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just.
We're looking at Los Angeles, Denver. Sorry, my apologies. We're going to get my game. Yeah, Reggie Jackson's a max MME type play only for me.
Sure. Yeah, I was wondering, because we've seen in the past these, these teams for whatever reason, even though they have a full preseason, like they limit some of their starters, open the, get them ready for the actual NBA pace, and you're like, great, it's Kerr is kind of, again, talking Golden State, but Kerr does that. We've seen Pop do that. So I wonder if LA or Denver, if they go take that approach on opening night here at all. But Vincent should be coming off the bench for the Lakers and play some decent run there for them. You have D'Angelo Russell, Jamal Murray. I would say on a small slate, all four of those guys are in play. There's nobody that I wouldn't fade. Obviously, it all depends on the amount of lineups you're playing. If you're making three, I probably don't get Jackson. I would play Vincent. If I'm making three lineups, he'd be in a lineup of mine. Would certainly play Russell or Murray. And I think if we had to pick one of Russell and Murray, we're feeling Murray over Russell here.
Yeah, I'd rank them exactly how they're priced. And I think Jamal Murray, truthfully, on a star-studded slate, probably falls by the wayside a little bit because you're spending up on Jokic, Curry, Booker, Durant, LeBron. Like, there is no shortage of stars. I think Murray might go a little overlooked, something to consider building your lineups.
Sure. Lakers Denver shooting guard position. Austin Reeves is your highest priced shooting guard. Now, again, DraftKings has the dual positional eligibility for the majority of players here on the slate, so there's some overlap when it comes to these positions here. But Reeves is your $6,100. He had a ridiculous postseason. Put him on the map, launched him. I mean, we were following him 2 years ago when we had these sort of like hints of what could be. And then last year was a full-on breakout during the postseason that's earned him enough to be the starting starter this year in LA. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for Denver here. Christian Braun is someone they drafted last year in the first round. Expecting him now to step into a little bit of a bigger role with some of the departures they had this offseason. And then Max Christie is someone that we think is likely going to find himself in a rotational spot for the Lakers this year as well.
Yeah, so Reeves is obviously, going to play big minutes. The Lakers, are not shy about that. They gave him a lot of run last year. They're going to give him a lot of run this year. They gave him the contract, played for Team USA. Like, he's played a lot of basketball this offseason, so I don't think there's going to be a shortage of minutes. We should see full complement right off the bat. KCP, if he makes shots, he is going to be good. If he doesn't, you're going to say, wow, I should have never played Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, because you're going to hear a lot if this is your first time playing DFS. Like, we're going to talk about.
You're praying that the shot doesn't fall. He gets you a couple steals, some defensive numbers there to pay up for it,
Yeah, so like 4,800. So when you're talking about value, return on value, we want nearly 25 fantasy points, right? 24 fantasy points.
Yeah, we look for 5x, right? So
yeah, so he's going to have to make shots for a low usage guy. I'd say it doesn't hurt that Bruce Brown's not there anymore. I think that's obviously something that's going to a help. Caldwell
Yeah,
Pope
they loved Bruce Brown last year. They
did.
played him and they would start him too at times.
Yep.
So definitely, Braun less established than Bruce Brown. So if Braun isn't out there performing, they could lean on KCP more heavily than they have.
Yeah, and for the record, like I probably lean Christian Brown over KCP because I almost feel like Christian Brown is like the younger version of KCP, like hustle, defense. Like we saw Christian Brown come up with a lot of steals in the postseason, make a lot of plays last year. And he is going to fill in that Bruce Brown.
He's what Austin Reeves was 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's kind of what Austin Reeves was 2 years ago, but he's going to be their Bruce Brown. Like, I think that's why, not that, I mean, we saw the Mike Malone thing, like Brucey B's coming back. Like he didn't, but they were also okay with it because Christian Brown was their first round pick 2 years ago. And like, so I think I do like Christian Brown. I would save the 400 if you're talking between him and KCP. I would assume before ownership comes out, like that would be the case for the field. Like I feel like Brown is probably going to be the more popular play of the two. It is worth noting though, John, he didn't play during the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there is something to be said that like KCP did have that ramp up where Christian Brown didn't. And
does Strother find his way into the rotation though? First round pick this year?
Yeah, he was awesome during the preseason too. Yeah. Like awesome. Maybe. Because you also think like Michael Porter didn't play during the preseason either. Like Porter didn't play during the preseason. Christian Brown, like two of their primary rotation pieces didn't play. I could see a scenario that Strother plays.
Apparently he's dealing with a little bit of an ankle sprain, so we don't know the full extent of this injury, how long it's going to take him to recover. It says his status for opening night could be in jeopardy, but again, 6'7" stretch, right? Like guy as you mentioned in the preseason, averaged 3.5 threes per game during the preseason. So could be a guy. You look at this rotation, we talk about this a lot, like how deep do these teams go off their bench and how deep will they go on opening night? And, we'll work through the positions here, but the depth for Denver definitely feels like it's not as strong where, Strother could get early minutes. Now, does he play 10? Does he play 15 off the gate? That's what we'll have to wait and see. Maybe best to not play him on opening night and see what his role looks like so you can plan for the next time Denver takes the floor. But, definitely not a spot to ignore, I don't think, because Christian Braun, did see minutes last year sporadically, but that team felt a little deeper than it does this year.
I think I don't disagree. I also think Denver is expecting players to take leaps. So like Christian Brown take a leap, and then they like Peyton Watson, and he is a backup big that he's a defensive minded player. He's probably going to play a bunch, and Zeke Njai is going to play a bunch. So like, I don't disagree. They just are really young. Outside of Reggie Jackson, like their backups are all young, and maybe, like you said, maybe they aren't as deep, but it is also hard to be as good when you have Bruce Brown in your back pocket. Like that's your sixth man. We've seen year in, year out, like Bruce Brown is severely underrated as a basketball player. And so that loss is definitely going to hurt. And maybe Strother does play.
Traded literally for nothing from Detroit to Brooklyn. So
nothing.
It speaks a lot to that. Small forward here. LeBron's your top price up, $9,300. Michael Porter's at 58. You and I are big Michael Porter stands, though maybe eventually he'll become the player we wish he would be. And then after that, it's a big dump off. We talked about some of these guys here, but Taurean Prince is going to be in the starting lineup for the Lakers here. Small forward, power forward eligibility as well, along with LeBron. Because it's a 2-game slate and because he's going to be starting, I imagine Taurean Prince may be the highest rostered player on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to allow you to get a lot of what you want because he's 3,500 and he's multi-position eligible. You can play him at small forward or power forward. So you could technically play him at 4 different spots on this slate. It's a nice luxury to have. you just have to ask yourself, like, if he starts off the game bad, does he play like any minutes outside of starting game, starting second half, right?
Sure.
Like that just could obviously be the case. It's a good chalk versus bad chalk situation. I think he is fine, and I'm willing to get to Taurean Prince. But also, like, you think about the Lakers, do they need Taurean Prince? Because they have LeBron who could play both forward positions,
Right.
and you have like Rui Hachimura who can slot in next to LeBron, and he's been really good since the postseason. And so I think although he is a good play, the Lakers also have like wing depth questions because is Max Christie going to be in the rotation? Like,
Right.
it seems that way based on, comments from their coaching staff and comments from, or just his playing time during the preseason. Like, it seems like Darvin Ham likes him, but we'll see. So I like Taurean Prince 35. For the record, I wouldn't really get to Michael Porter 58. He didn't play during the preseason, and with his like laundry list of injuries, like, is there a limit? I suspect there's some type of limit, which also goes back to your Strother point. Like, maybe we see some Strother. They started Hunter Tyson the final preseason game. Not that he was great, but he is, he's fine. He can space the floor a little bit and do a little bit of different things. So like, we'll maybe a dart on Hunter Tyson, but wouldn't go much. Like, you can play Reeves here, which is nice. You can play Christian Brown here,
Yeah,
which
the
is
multi-position
nice.
eligibility certainly makes it so you don't have to go down here if you don't want to. I think because Prince is starting, people will see him. We talk about the 5X need. You only need 17 fantasy points to hit the 5X for us. And on a smaller slate, much like in the showdown slate, sometimes like you can have a guy score 10 fantasy points and it'd be enough to get you in the money or whatever if it allows you to spend up where you need to go. The common, like, I'll take a 0 in showdown NBA because I have Jokic as my captain. He goes for 150. So, we'll talk showdown slates another day, but definitely something to pay attention to when it comes to the build here on these smaller slates. Power forward position, again, a lot of these guys we've discussed. The only one we really haven't talked in depth about is Hachimura. And Aaron Gordon expected to come off the bench for Hachimura, but could completely end up being a guy that plays more minutes than the starter. Aaron Gordon, he's Aaron Gordon. You kind of know what you get out of him. It's very inconsistent on a night-to-night basis. I don't find myself on this slate probably locking in a power forward here. We'll talk about Phoenix, Golden State, where there are some better players maybe to target at this power forward position. But obviously, with the dual position eligibility, you could put LeBron here. You could put Taurean Prince here if it makes your lineup builds a little bit easier.
Yeah, I don't mind if you land on Gordon and Hachimura. It's like not like you said. It's moot. It's fine. It's not sexy. It's whatever. But I would play both those guys if that's where my lineup took me. I think Hachimura is going to play more than Prince a lot, and I do think Aaron Gordon, he was ramped up. Like, I think full complement is right off the bat, and I think that's a big part of early season basketball. Like, you want guys that are going to be on the floor. So.
Sure.
Aaron Gordon playing 28 minutes in his final preseason game is definitely a plus.
Yep. And then centers here. No positional eligibility, dual positional eligibility for AD to kick off the year, which, last year he was center and power forward at times. But you have Jokic, Davis, and then maybe Christian Wood off the bench, we assume, but we don't know. And then we have, the obvious top play here with Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I think Jokic, is going to be the most popular spend on the slate. And listen, Anthony Davis is a great basketball player who was really good in the 4 games against Denver in the postseason. He was really good against Denver last year in general. We've had question marks about Nikola Jokic's defense a lot, right? Like, that's been a thing for a while. Like, he's a premier offensive player who isn't always the most fundamentally sound on the defensive end. So I can get to either of those two guys. Nothing else, though. I'm not even considering Christian Wood 62. That price is insane. That's an insane price because how many minutes is Christian Wood going to play on this team? Is he even going to beat Jackson Hayes for like the backup center ultimately? I think there's a lot of questions for Christian Wood. So 6,200, no thanks.
Yep. I'm with you there. All right, let's move on over to Phoenix Golden State. I think this is going to be the more entertaining of the two matchups here when it comes to like my favorite game stack. If you want to go to it, this is certainly going to be the game to take a peek at. Point guard position, again, dual position eligibility for a lot of these guys here, but Curry and Booker, your top 2 price plays. Bradley Beal, Chris Paul are right there as well. Obviously, all 4 of those guys are in play. If we're looking to identify some of the backups here, though, James, what are your thoughts on the value on this slate here at point guard?
Yeah, so I think we're going to see Chris Paul in the starting lineup, especially without Draymond out. I think GP3, Gary Payton, is going to be the primary backup off the bench. Again, the Warriors played their guys 30-plus minutes. Curry even had a game winner in preseason. Like, you don't see that, but Kerr ramped them up, and then the final preseason game, they played a half. But they're fully built up, so Curry's going to play big minutes, so I can't see more than like 13, 14 minutes a night or early on for Gary Payton. Pozinski looked really good in the preseason, but like we've seen what Steve Kerr does with rookies. They don't play. Wiseman didn't play, traded. Kuminga still hasn't played. He's scored the second most points per game in the preseason. Yeah. Moses Moody, oh, by the way, first round draft pick, doesn't even crack the rotation at this point.
No, need 3 guys out for Moses Moody to see the floor.
Yeah, so I don't think Pozinski is going to be relevant here. I think Jordan Goodwin is going to enter the season as the backup point guard for Phoenix. I know Saban Lee is currently on the team, and we'll see what happens. I believe the rosters were already cut down. They needed to have that done yesterday. So I think Jordan Goodwin's fine. We've seen Jordan Goodwin be really productive at times during his time with Washington. Another guy
familiarity playing with Beal,
Yep. And there is kind of an unknown how long Bradley, we've seen Point Beal, we've seen Point Booker, we haven't seen it for an 82-game season. Jordan Goodwin, they might need a traditional point guard. Jordan Goodwin does fit that mold, and maybe we
talk Phoenix starting lineup, right? And it's Nurkic, it's Durant, it's Grayson Allen at the 3, it's Devin Booker at the 2, and Bradley Beal at the 1.
Yep.
Could very easily pivot out Grayson Allen, shift everybody up, and then put in Jordan Goodwin at point guard. And now you have probably the most offensive forward 5 on the floor you'll see in the NBA, maybe, with Goodwin, Beal, Booker, Durant, and Nurkic down there for the 5. So again, could see certainly something like that play out here if they find that maybe Beal isn't running the offense maybe as efficiently. But I would expect that to be I think Beal's going to be perfectly fine. Love him as a point guard. And love this price tag for Bradley Beal. Again, we talk a lot, and we'll say it a bunch of times during the season. You won't get a guy like this cheap. Get him in now. We've come to know that DraftKings sort of ignores NBA until football starts, basically, or football ends. So there are going to be times where we're pounding the table for a guy that just stays at $4,500 or $6,500 for weeks while he's outproducing. So Bradley Beal at $6,900 to me feels like a price point that we just need to attack until they make him $8K.
Yeah, I mean, look. There are going to be nights that obviously Bradley Beal disappoints offensively because Devin Booker has 45 and Durant has 38, and they do that on the same night, right? There's going to be nights where they both, but we know there was a reason, not only because Washington's inept as an organization, but there was a reason why Bradley Beal got the money he got when he got it. He is an elite player. He turned out to be the better of him and the John Wall backcourt, ultimately. So yeah, I think Bradley Beal is a great play, 6,900.
Yeah, I just think that there's assist upside for him.
Yes, agreed.
That isn't being baked into the price yet. Where you look at his assists, when he was playing point Beal at times for the Wizards, and he was giving you 5, 6, 7 assists sometimes. I think that's passing to Porzingis and Kuzma or sometimes Denny Avdia, right? Now he's throwing to Booker and Durant. So I feel like the upside for assists is going to be there. That can help push it over if his point per game drops to 21 instead of 27.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. I'm not saying I love the landing. It's hard not to love the landing spot. You're putting him around 2 of the best scorers in the world. So I do love the landing spot. It is just going to be. I think a lot of teams, like Milwaukee, like Boston, like that have just built super teams. They have built super teams. It's just going to be interesting to see how things play out. I think Bradley Beal will be fine. It is, again, worth mentioning. He did play in the preseason, but it was a very limited basis. All the Suns did, though. Like, all the Suns played on a very limited basis in the preseason. Nobody really was extended that much. I will say, like, I love Steph Curry here, 9,200. I think he has a massive advantage over Bradley Beal on the offensive end of the floor. Like, it's going to be really hard for Bradley Beal to chase him around for, 30 minutes in this game. I also really like Chris Paul. Like, 5,600 for Chris Paul seems really silly.
Yeah.
Because if you think about Chris Paul without Draymond, doesn't it just feel like Chris Paul's just going to operate as Draymond offensively, right? Where Curry's just constantly coming off screens. They run the offense through Draymond a lot of the time anyway. Now They can just run it through a better ball handler than and Chris Paul is 5,600, where like I would not be shocked if Chris Paul like doubles every game Draymond's not there, because the offense just, you have literally two of the best shooters of all time, if not.
I do wonder on Paul's scoring ability. I was looking at his prop; it was at 11.5.
Sure.
I was like, does he score enough to get over? Does he get double-digit points with Curry and Clay and Wiggins and that crew? Like, I wonder if he shoots enough. I agree. I think the assists are going to be there for him, because now Curry is just going to be running without the ball, or just coming off picks and screens and things like that. But I do wonder if Chris Paul could just take on, he's obviously a better shooter than Draymond.
Yeah.
But like Draymond doesn't score. He just runs the offense. Like I wonder if that happens to Chris Paul, where it's like, 8 points a game, because he doesn't need to be that guy anymore.
So I think you're definitely right that the scoring is definitely going to, I mean, it's been taking a drop off regardless, right? Just 13.7 points per game. This is a guy who's averaged 20 in a season. What I think is going to happen, this is what Steve Kerr is going to stagger Curry and Chris Paul a lot. So Curry plays Hull first, Chris Paul early sub. Chris Paul is going to run the second unit. It's going to be him and Clay and Kuminga. That's going to be like the unit. And I think Chris Paul is going to find plenty of offense with playing with the second unit. So I don't disagree where I think the scoring is going to even fall off from the 13.7 that it was at last year. But I wouldn't be shocked that early in the year, or games where Draymond's limited, or games that, where they're figuring out the rotation and he's running second units, he's scoring as well. Like, he's going to be the primary facilitator when Steph Curry, like when they're starting units on the floor. But that second unit that I'm expecting he runs,
sure,
he's going to be one of the top scoring options. Him, Kuminga, and probably Clay, because that's always how Kerr has like staggered his rotation.
Fair point. Moving on over to shooting guard here. Again, multi-position eligibility. A lot of the same guys here. Curry, Booker, we know are certainly locked in. You do have Clay, you have Grayson Allen, you have Eric Gordon, sort of the next three likely to at least crack a lineup here. Last year, Klay Thompson was rather inconsistent, at times disappointing, to say the least. What are your thoughts now going into this season for Clay, Grayson Allen entering a starting lineup, where I don't know how if he takes a shot, he probably gets a bunch of dirty looks, right? From Durant and Booker and Beal being like, what's he doing out here? Though his job is basically to be like a bet poor man 3-and-D. And then you have Eric Gordon coming off the bench, who might eventually play over Grayson Allen at some point. I don't know. What are your thoughts here?
Isn't it funny? Like, Clay did have like a down year, and then you look, it's like 41% shooting from three, 21 points per game. You're like, oh, all right, that was still pretty good. But like,
he just never paid off his price.
No, never. No, from a DFS standpoint, I couldn't agree. I completely agree. I'm just saying, like, outside looking in, you're like, oh, Clay had a down year, and then you're like, oh, 41%, 21 points per game. Oh, okay, he was pretty good. 6,500 is not the best. I will say he has the best eligibility on the board, right? Shooting guard, small forward is you play him at 5 positions, so it is a good thing to have. And you can say that about Allen, you can say that about Gordon. I would prefer the starter, and I expect that to be Allen, as you alluded to. I don't hate Eric Gordon. He was pretty good in the preseason. He also started a couple times in the preseason, so that's obviously something to keep in mind. He looks healthy. Some of his best seasons were with the Suns back in the day. Eric Gordon's Suns. So I would maybe take a shot at Gordon if I'm playing multiple lineups, because he's another guy that.
I don't mind Eric Gordon either. I think there's some scoring upside for him for sure right off the bench. So I think that's a potential GPP play here. Good price tag at $4,300.
Yeah, I would rank them as price, and I do like Devin Booker quite a bit. If you say like if you were to play a Sun, like Kevin Durant 84 just feels stupid cheap, but like so does 83 of Devin Booker. Both those guys are 9K. The rest of the year, when the season is in full swing, you're not getting Devin Booker or Kevin Durant under 9K again.
I probably end up agreeing with you on that one as well. And both of them have ridiculous scoring ceilings.
Yep.
At small forward, again, a lot of guys we've discussed here, but Jonathan Kuminga makes an appearance for the first time. You talked about him being just a monster during the preseason. We know Draymond Green isn't likely to be available for this one. So, in a rotational sense, Kuminga is going to have some minutes available for him in this Warriors front court.
Here's the list of players, John, during the preseason that scored more points than Jonathan Kuminga. You ready?
Yep.
Desmond Bane. End list. That is the only player who scored more points than Jonathan Kuminga. 21.8 points per game for Kuminga during the preseason. Bane averaged 22. So it was like 0.2.
Somebody has Desmond Bane on their fantasy basketball. Oh, yeah, that was me.
Desmond Bane had a very good preseason. He also played a lot, and that's where Kuminga benefited too. He did. Yeah. Steve Kerr let him play. But I think that's going to be the case. Like when you look at the Warriors roster, he's the sixth man. Like if Chris Paul is starting, we're going to see Looney eventually be the primary big off the bench. But Kuminga can play three positions. He can play small forward. He can play power forward. He can play center. So I do think Jonathan Kuminga 4,600 is going to be pretty popular, considering you can play him at both forward here on DraftKings, considering he had a big preseason, and considering Draymond is out. So I like Kuminga quite a bit, 4,600. He's the clear-cut small forward value. And truthfully, when you move on to power forward, he's the clear-cut power forward value as well, because there's really nothing else below.
Power forward for me, I just locked in Kevin Durant at $8,400 on this slate. I think he is just core go-to play for me, because I don't think he's going to be cheaper. And we do talk about this too a lot of times on a small slate. You don't need a guy to go for 70 to take down the tournament on 2-game slate. If he goes for 50, there's only a few guys that can go for 50, only a few guys that can go for 40. So he can go there and still be enough to take you down if he doesn't hit a ceiling projection here. But we built some lineups, and we'll build one out to close the show here that I was able to get Durant and Jokic in a lineup here and feel pretty comfortable doing it. After Durant, Wiggins, power forward only. We know his success last year, really had a career year. Then he had that personal issue thing that he dealt with, where he disappeared for a little bit, but still like his overall efficiency last year, and he was active on both sides of the floor, which is good to see. So those are the starters. We know they're there. We know that we can play them. Nasir Little, Bates Diop, Yuta Watanabe, anybody like that for you for value?
We know Kevin Durant, if he's healthy, he plays big minutes. So I don't think there's anything there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And center here, Jusuf Nurkic, Kevon Looney, Drew Eubanks. What are your thoughts on this center position?
So I think Nurkic is fine. I think he's going to dominate the glass. I think Looney without Draymond is fine. I think we know Kevon Looney is an insane rebounder. I would actually take a shot on Drew Eubanks if you're looking for value, because the one thing we know about Nurkic is he's never had the best gas tank, or we just don't know because Portland's just always taking him off the floor, right?
Yeah, they're just taking him off the floor 25 minutes. So
and who they take him off for, John?
Drew Eubanks.
So familiarity here, Drew Eubanks has to be thinking I'm going to get some solid run here, just knowing that Nurkic doesn't have the best gas tank, and opening of the season, probably
especially against Golden State, who is going to play smaller.
So I don't hate the idea of a backup center when the backup center has an opportunity to play 20 minutes. So I don't hate the idea of Eubanks. I think Nurkic and Looney obviously have higher ceilings and whatnot, but Eubanks does, they're $1,600 cheaper than Nurkic for, Nurkic. Could there be foul trouble? Could there be there's a lot of question marks with use of Nurkic at times. So I would rank them as price, but I would take a look at Eubanks.
Yeah, I made a lot of money on Kevon Looney rebound props last year. Yes. I don't see one listed quite yet, but if it's 6.5 again, it was what they used to just put him at last year because he was coming off the bench, I would hammer the over on that. I'd be curious to see what we have for a Looney rebound prop going into this game here, because if they do take off Nurkic and have to go smaller, Looney's just an absolute rebound vacuum. One of the reasons why I actually like the under rebounds for Durant, not just his own team, but because Looney just grabs them all.
Yep,
So
he does.
$5,300. He may get a sneaky double. Like he does get these putbacks because he's a great offensive rebounder as well. And then because Golden State takes so many threes, these rebounds just are always clanking for him. So I don't mind that. Anybody else for you at center?
No, and now he gets to play with Chris Paul, by the way, who actually passes. He'll never have better passes in his life.
Curry and Paul both are running offense for him.
Dude, forget it.
I am with you there 100%. All right, let's close this out here. Let's build a lineup for the folks at home. I think we just have to plug Jokic in, right?
Jokic, Durant, probably the first two if we want to just see what the salary looks like after that.
52-6.
I mean, I want to play Chris. I've told you from the start. I want to play Chris Paul, especially if at the price 5,600 is a great.
5,200 per play. Shooting guard position. We're gonna need a value here. So, do we want try Taurean Prince, Christian Braun? What do we think?
Yeah, we could do. I mean, look, we don't know what Christian Braun's role is going to be because he hadn't played during the preseason. I think he's going to be the sixth man. We have basically been told by Darvin Ham that Taurean Prince is going to start. Now, I did just look at the Jared Vanderbilt note, John. Yeah. He is officially questionable. They haven't officially ruled him out. He practiced on a limited basis, but I don't think they would announce Taurean Prince a starter if Vanderbilt was going to play because I think Vanderbilt's going to start over.
Yeah, that's what that note makes it seem like. They're starting him ahead of Vanderbilt. So obviously we're doing this, ahead of the main slate. More than any sport that we cover, the NBA lineup roster lock is as important as almost any other information that you 100%. Could research for the 30 hours leading up to a slate, and the 10 minutes before the slate is the most important of anything. So we'll go Taurean Prince here to start, and then obviously if Vanderbilt gets ruled in, we'll have to make a pivot to that spot. Vanderbilt $4,100, but Prince at 35 gives us a little flexibility. $5,600 we need a shooting guard, forward, and utility spot.
Wish Bradley Beal was here for us, John.
Yeah, I know. Bradley Beal, I think, fits in as a guard. I do want to put Beal in at 69. That gives us a $5,200 shooting guard, forward, and a util play. Did you want to go Kuminga?
Yeah, Kuminga's going to be the primary guy off.
So we got a $5,500 shooting guard and utility here.
We love Phoenix. Like, I'd be willing to take a shot on someone like Eric Gordon off the bench or like a Eubanks off the bench if that got us like somebody else.
Gordon gets us a 6,700 util, which is Nurkic. It's Clay Thompson.
It would be four if we'd be stacking Phoenix essentially, which I don't.
Well, we got three. We got two Golden State. We got three Phoenix, one Denver, one LA.
If we round it out with Nurkic, should be.
I would love to get Jamal Murray. Can we find $800 somewhere? Probably not, but I would love to be able to.
Well, we could do Murray over Beal.
Gives us 61, which would be, I guess,
Austin Reeves
or D'Angelo Russell.
Or D'Angelo Russell. We just have to switch. I would say Gordon into the util in case we have news. Like, sure, that's the late slate.
Would you Reeves or Russell if you had to pick one?
I would probably play. I think Reeves does a little bit more. Sure. So I would say Austin Reeves.
So there it is. No money left on the table. We got Chris Paul, Austin Reeves, Taurean Prince, Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Jonathan Kuminga, and Eric Gordon as a early look at the Tuesday opening main slate. James and I will be back live at 5 o'clock Eastern, like we will every day, Monday through Friday. Breaking you down all the latest news and updates for everybody, taking you into the 6 o'clock hour. And then we'll be in the FantasySlam DFS Discord, which again, you can get when you become an all-pro member. The scroll's down on the screen, but I'll toss the QR code up here for everybody once again. You can scan that QR code, become a member of our all-pro subscription package here and get into our premium Discord. We'll have advanced lineup lock news, roster updates, and answering all of your questions leading into lineup lock here. So sign up today, fantasyslam.com/lock, promo code lock, or scan the QR code here on the screen. That is our inaugural 2023-2024 NBA DFS playbook preview show here. James, congratulations. I'll see you again 5 o'clock Eastern Time live to break it all down again for everybody. But until then, we'll see you later.